Good morning, children. Today we will study about the second phase of the Indian national movement, Partition of Bengal and other developments. The province of Bengal comprised Bengal proper, Bihar, Orissa, now called Odisha, Chota Nagpur, and the Bengali speaking districts of modern Assam. In 1903, Lord Curzon formally approved the scheme for the partition of Bengal. The Congress denounced the scheme at its annual session in 1903 and 1904. Yet the government carried out the partition of Bengal on 16th October 1905. The reasons that Lord Curzon gave or the government gave for the partition were: the province of Bengal was too large to be properly administered by a single provincial government. The partition was a mere readjustment of administrative boundaries. The government wanted to improve the administration of both the provinces, as Bengal was divided into Bengal, East Bengal and Assam. The government also gave the reason that it was in the favor of bringing all the Odia, that is Ode speaking people under the administration of Bengal. But the nationalists had a different perspective towards the partition of Bengal. Or we can say Lord Curzon's motive behind the partition: to strike the roots of Bengali nationalism. The real motive of the government was to break the growing solidarity of the Bengali nationalism. They wanted to crush the spirit by dividing the communities into two separate provinces. The government followed the policy of divide and rule. That is, they wanted to create a rift between the Hindus and the Muslims, the two majority communities of the country. Lord Curzon also wanted to demonstrate the strength of the British Raj. So, with the partition of Bengal, the demonstration of the strength of the British Raj was proved that it could afford to hold public opinion in contempt. Now, let's study about the assertive nationalists. The partition of Bengal disillusioned the early nationalists. Their power and prestige were now on decline. They therefore persuaded Dadabhai Naoroji to preside over the Kolkata session of the Congress in 1906, because they knew that it would be difficult for the assertive nationalists to oppose Dadabhai Naoroji, where the assertives had forwarded Tilak's name for the presidentship. And in the Kolkata session in 1906, Congress under the presidentship of Dadabhai Naoroji proclaimed Swaraj as the goal of India. In the Surat session, the assertive nationalist proposed Lala Lajpat Rai's name as president, and the early nationalist proposed Rash Bihari Bose as the president. When the session began in December 26, 1907, the split became inevitable and the split in the Congress became official. The time period of the assertive nationalists is 1905 to 1919. The important leaders were Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai, Aurobindo Ghosh. The ultimate objective of the assertive nationalist was Swaraj, that is, self-government. There was a basic difference between the methods of the two schools of thought. The early nationalists had unlimited faith in the British sense of justice and fair play, whereas the assertive nationalists had no faith in the British rule. The assertive nationalists did not believe in the 3 P's, that is, prayer, pleas and petition of the early nationalists, and provoked the spirit of self-reliance and self-determination. Therefore, their ultimate objective was Swaraj, that is, self-government. And Tilak said, "Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it." They did not approve the moderate policy and demand for dominion status, that is, self-government under the British rule. The assertives believed that the reforms could only be secured by strong pressure on the government. And for this, the methods that the assertive nationalists followed for their agitation were revivalism. Assertive nationalists wanted the national movement to be based on people's religious faith. Therefore, they revived the festivals like Shivaji Festival in 1895 and the Ganpati Festival. They also portrayed the historical figures like Chandragupta Vikramaditya, Maharana Pratap, and Shivaji as the national heroes. They had two important tools which were to be utilized. One was Swadeshi and the other was boycott. The idea of Swadeshi was popularized by bonfires of foreign cloth, salt and sugar. And they shouted the slogan of Bande Mataram because they wanted that the Indian market should be flowing with the homemade goods and people should use the goods that were made in their own country. The assertives also wanted that everybody should boycott the British goods, the government services, schools, colleges, honours, courts and titles. The boycott also included the social boycott, that is the people who were using the British goods or were in favour of the British. The fourth method that they followed was the national education. They wanted the education to be imparted, secular education. To have a good moral character, religious education was must. They wanted political education should also be given so that everyone knows the civic and political responsibility they owe to the country. They also were in the favor of vocational or industrial education so that they could earn their living after gaining education. Contribution to the freedom struggle. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai. The trio stood for Swaraj and Swadeshi ideal, were commonly known as Bal, Pal, Lal. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, also known as Lokmanya Tilak, and father of the Indian unrest. His contribution to the freedom struggle was Tilak's political beliefs: Swaraj is my birthright and I will have it. Swaraj and Swadeshi became the battle cry of the assertive nationalists. In his weeklies, the Maratha and the Kesari, he made bitter attacks on the government. He started the celebration of the Ganpati festival in 1893 and revived the Shivaji festival in 1895. He organized akhadas and lathi clubs to make the youth brave to defy the British Raj. In 1896, he led a non-rent campaign. He played an active role in the anti-partition movement. He launched the Home Rule movement, in which he infused the nation with a new strength and vigour. Because of this, he earned the epithet of Lokmanya, as he was respected by the people. Tilak is also regarded as the forerunner of Mahatma Gandhi. His great works were the Gita Rese, the Orion, and the Arctic Home in the Vedas. Bipin Chandra Pal's contribution to India's freedom struggle. Bipin's role in the awakening of national consciousness in India. At the Chennai Congress session in 1887, he made a forceful speech in which he pleaded that the Arms Act should be repealed. Bipin Chandra Pal was a great journalist and a marvelous orator. He edited New India, which he started in 1901. He was a marvelous orator and roused the masses with his oratory. He played an active role in the anti-partition and Swadeshi movement. Great sacrifices were made because of his robust nationalism. His ideas on national education was that the nationalist passion can only be aroused against the British rule with the help of national education, as it would become an effective instrument of social progress. His two important books are The Spirit of Nationalism and The New Economic Menace to India. Bipin Chandra Pal is rightly called one of the mightiest prophets of nationalism. Lala Lajpat Rai was one of the foremost leaders of modern India. Lala Lajpat Rai was closely associated with Arya Samaj movement. He was greatly instrumental in the expansion of the DAV College at Lahore. He wrote the biographies of Mazzini, Garibaldi, Swami Dayanand and Pandit Gurudat. His important books are The Call to Young India, England's Debt to India, The Political Future of India. In 1916, he laid the foundation of the Indian Home Rule League in the United States and started a monthly magazine called Young India. He played a very active role in the anti-partition and Swadeshi movements. Lala Lajpat Rai presided over the historic Kolkata session of the Congress in 1920. He also played a very important role in the formation of the Swaraj Party and later the Nationalist Party. He became the member of the Legislative Assembly in 1925 and 1926. It was all because of his valor that he earned the title of Sher-e-Punjab, that is, the Lion of Punjab. Muslim League. The All India Muslim League was formally founded on 30th December 1906. Aims and objectives of the League were as follows. To promote among Indian Muslims feelings of loyalty towards the British government. The League would also remove misconception that may arise as to the intentions of government in relation to Indian Muslims. To protect the political and other rights of the Muslims. The League also wanted to place the needs and aspirations of the Muslims before the government in mild and moderate language. To prevent the rise of any feeling of hostility between the Muslims and the other communities without adversely affecting the aforesaid objectives of the League. Recap. Now children, today we had studied about the partition of Bengal, its causes and nationalist perspective. Assertive nationalists, their time period, leader and ultimate objective. Methods of struggle of the assertive nationalists. Contribution of Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, Lala Lajpat Rai to the freedom struggle. And the objectives of the Muslim League. Thank you and stay blessed.